Fat Joe and Crazy Legs, they were two people that I saw during Hip Hop 50 who've been, honestly, it feels like over time they've been claiming more and more real estate within the hip hop creation story. From my point of view, this isn't a shot. I think it's just what their interviews look like when they talk. But Fat Joe said it was 50-50 Latinos and Black. Crazy Legs said that Latinos essentially created modern breakdancing in that element, and said Disco King Mario was Latino, which he wasn't. I think maybe he just thought the name Mario sounded Latino in some capacity. But then I also question it because he was actually there. That actually felt like a very weird thing to say. But the Latino element of hip hop to me feels like, because there was a lot of Puerto Ricans and Latinos in these communities, and they were all participating in a lot of ways, they feel like because they were there, that they're part of the origin story, or at least they're part of the creation of it rather than, I don't think we can discount the Latinos community's embracing of hip hop culture and things that they've added to it. But it's really the creation conversation where it sounds kind of odd to me. And from your documentary, from your research, where do you think that particular side of it comes from?
And what's interesting, Crazy Legs, if you look at old interviews from a lot of the Puerto Rican B-boys, they used to all admit that it was Black people. They would all say it back in the day. They would say that it was the Moreno dance. We got it from this Black guy. We got it from that Black guy. They had no problem. This whole recreation myth, this started recently. And this is coming from the top from somewhere where they're saying, hey, you Latino guys better start claiming this thing. We better start claiming this as us creating it 50-50. That thing where Fat Joe said, yeah, we did it 50-50 and then ran out the room and didn't elaborate. It's like you knock over a table and leave a mess and then won't explain what the hell you made a mess for. When everybody asks him, hey, who are these pioneers you're talking about? They can never really give you an answer. They start talking about, well, Joe Conzo was taking pictures. Joe Conzo was taking pictures in the late 70s. When you start to ask them to elaborate who these early pioneers are, they start changing the subject. There were no Puerto Ricans around during the early 70s when hip hop was being cultivated. That's just a fact. That's why they can't name anybody. They'll start naming Charlie Chase, Whipper Whip, all of these guys who came in the late 70s. They were the first students of hip hop, and that's okay. Even Charlie Chase, and he's kind of changed his tune now. He's only like, we were there from the beginning, but back in a few years ago, Charlie Chase would do interviews saying, hey, I had to use the name Charlie Chase because I couldn't use my real Puerto Rican last name because I would not have been accepted. You understand? And also when I was DJing, the other Puerto Ricans were like, why are you with the Blacks like that? He was getting clowned. So they would admit that they would get clowned for being around Black people. So that was the real climate. What it is, Justin, this is what I think it is, man. I think, listen, they know that they were not there in the beginning. It's like colonizing. These guys, many of them want to be like the Spanish conquistadors. The Spanish conquistadors came through to Aboriginal environments and said, hey, we're the first to steal what these guys created. We're going to beat the French and the British over here and claim what they created as our own. The Aztecs, the Mayan, that's us. And they feel like if we steal it first, that means we own it first. You understand what I'm saying? I think it's a lot of that going on. We're the first to steal it, therefore we own it because we stole it before everybody else, so we get to claim this that we stole. They know that they were not there in the very beginning and they were students of hip hop. But instead of saying, hey, we learned from those Black people in America, they have to put out this lie that they co-created it, knowing that that's not the truth. And then they keep moving the envelope. They say, well, we were there in the Bronx. We never said you weren't there. Of course you were there in the Bronx. I'm out here in Los Angeles. I had, living out here when I was younger, I had Mexican neighbors who played mariachi music all the time. I don't get to claim mariachi music or a pioneer of it just because I was there listening to it in my apartment complex. That's what they're trying to do with hip hop, is because they heard a DJ while they were in their window listening at what was going on in the park. They're saying, well, I was there, so I'm a creator of it. No, you just heard some music at a park. You were a student of hip hop, and that's okay.
I don't know. It's just the way you describe it that always gets, I get a kick out of. Because I mean, I don't think any of these things can really debate it. If you really go look at the music, where are the Latin samples? Where are the DJ? Like what Latin music is in a primary breakbeat? Like there's just very obvious things if you really think about it. But I also thought it was funny this week when you shared an image of, I guess Fat Joe blocked you on Twitter.
Yeah. He started, after Microphone Check came out, he just went on a blocking spree. He just started blocking everybody. He blocked me. I've never corresponded with Fat Joe. And more power to Fat Joe. I don't have a problem with Fat Joe, but if you say something historically inaccurate, it has to be called out. And this whole thing, well, I'm from the Bronx. Ain't nobody tell us nothing because we from the Bronx. That's not going to work either. This whole thing where they try to act like the Bronx is some kind of foreign island that's not connected with any other culture. It's an island within itself. No. Hip hop was created by people in the Bronx. It didn't just ooze out of the sewer. It didn't fall off of a tenement building. It was created by people who have a history, who have a culture, who have a lineage, and that was foundational Black Americans.
Excuse me.